Hey, Knicks fans, thank you for tuning in to another Knicks Nation podcast. This is episode 96 of the Knicks Nation podcast. Knicks, they have won 3 straight games, and their most recent performance reminded us just how good this team can be. We also have some fun fake trades later on to talk about, so let's do it.
Run that intro.
Basketball.
You're listening to the Knicks Nation podcast, where we've got all your Knicks needs covered.
Puts up a three. Bang! Bang! He ties the game!
Now, live from the city that never sleeps, here are your hosts, Anthony and Chris.
What is going on, Knicks Nation? Appreciate you guys tuning into another Knicks Nation podcast. I'm here joined by Chris, as always, like I said, in episode 96 of the Knicks Nation podcast. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, please hit that follow button and leave us a rating. It really helps out on that end. If you're on YouTube tuning in, really appreciate you guys. Smash the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps out the channel. Knicks, they've won 3 straight games, after things were looking a little bit dicey. People got nervous, but 3 straight wins for this Knicks team with a great win over the Kings. And look, that was their most impressive win in a while. I mean, they dropped 140 plus points. Everyone looked good. Defense was great in that fourth quarter. And look, now they have a tough schedule coming up. I think they have the toughest schedule remaining in the NBA. I think this is one of their toughest schedules this season, and we'll talk about it, everything, as well as the fake trades that we have later on in the pod. But look, we're in a great spot, 30-16, third in the East. Chris, what it do?
What it do, baby?
What it do?
I feel great, man. Look, the Knicks, like I said in the previous pod, we're in a good spot. It's not doom and gloom. Everything felt that way, but look, it's crazy what a few days of rest does for this Knicks squad, right? They go out there, obviously played a hell of a game against the Kings. OG Anunoby's looking a bit better now offensively as well. Had a big game against the Kings. Had a good game, built on that Nets game as well. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. The Knicks have 2 all-star starters. I mean, what a great week it was for Knicks fans, man.
2 all-star starters. Shout out to JB, and Karl Anthony Towns. We got a fun trivia at the end as well. But yeah, great week. Look, they got announced on Thursday. So, I know the all-star game is not the traditional all-star game this year where you have like 3-on-3 tournaments. So, I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but I guess we just have to wait and see. But look, you brought up OG Anunoby, right? OG Anunoby. So Anunoby looked good, man, Chris, and I was getting nervous. I was getting extremely nervous about Anunoby, and like you said, Knicks had 3 days off, and you wanted to see how they were going to come out against the Sacramento Kings, how they were going to look, and they look great. They look like a team that needed rest. They look like a well-rested team. And it's not just Anunoby. I mean, Josh Hart just continues to be an incredible basketball player. Mikal was even super efficient at a game. But, Chris, I wanted to see a game like that from Mr. OG Anunoby. And it's been a while where he gave you a scoring output like that. Best game, in my opinion, since the Denver game. I know he had a great game against the Raptors mixed in there, but he looked good, man. He looked good, and I'm just happy that, now, is OG back? Is OG Anunoby back? I hope so.
Same. I hope so. Look, he started off with that Nets game where I believe he had 20 points on a pretty efficient scoring, and he built on that against the Kings. I mean, he was amazing against the Kings. And again, look, I attribute it, obviously, to the Knicks getting some much needed rest. They've had a few 2 days, 3 days to rest up, which I think is the difference, man. They came out there with high energy on both sides of the court. But as far as OG, man, likewise, man. I was, he's been struggling for some time, man, being very inconsistent. So it's nice to see him kind of get on a roll for a couple of, really good, efficient games. on both sides of the court.
Yeah, OG looked good. Look, the final score was 143 to 120 against the Kings. And Anunoby had, 33 and 4 assists with 2 steals, 3 rebounds, 4-7 from 3. And that's the area that's been concerning, his 3-point shot, And look, like I've been preaching, I said it last week, Chris, he has never played this many games in a row since his rookie season. So he's adjusting. And that's honestly a blessing, right? I mean, he's healthy, he's out there, and that's all we wanted. Look, if you were to tell me Anunoby would have not missed a game 46 games into the regular season, coming into this season, and before the season, we said, look, just give us, 65 games, 70 games, sign me up for that, right?
Yep.
So
yep.
He's well on his way to that, knock on wood. But Chris, the game against the Kings reminded us, like, all right, he's like it reminded us like who this Knicks team can be, because we haven't seen this version in a while. And I think that game really reminded me like this team could be extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
And when we're scoring like that, look, I know we're not going to shoot 46% from 47% from 3 on a game-by-game basis. And we have 40 team assists in that game. It's just remarkable. But that game right there, especially with OG Anunoby playing so well, that game right there, Chris, brought me back to what I felt like before the season. Like, this team can go really far in the playoffs. And I haven't felt that, after the 9-game winning streak. They've been floundering a bit. But, right, don't you feel that way? I don't know. Maybe it's just
No, yeah. I mean, look, that's what we've seen in spurts, right? The Knicks, they end up having these games where it's just like, man, when everything is clicking, this team is amazing. Obviously we can score with the best of them. Look, the Kings, that's what they do. That's their bread and butter, right? They're going to go out there. They're going to try to outscore you. They're going to play fast. And we essentially beat them at their own game. Outscored them, dropped 140 points, which is insane to do in regulation. And then on the defensive end, when things are just clicking and, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be even elite, just decent defensive basketball, team basketball. And this team it just shows you how dangerous they can be. And look, when we play like that, match us up against anybody. And I'm taking the Knicks all day.
Exactly. And, tough schedule ahead, but that really brought me back to those feelings I was feeling, prior to the season and during that 9-game winning streak. Like, that right there, when the starting 5 is playing so well like that, I mean, they all scored at double digits again. And, Cat, I know he's dealing with a thumb injury, so he really hasn't been, I think he's like 1 of 10 from 3 since his thumb injury. Still gave you 18 and 15 and 28 minutes. So, but in that game versus Sacramento, you also saw Tom Thibodeau go 9 deep in the first quarter. And look, 9 deep is amazing. You saw Landry Shamet, Chris, in that first quarter, gave you 3 threes and just looked great. We've been missing that coming into that game. He's only had 1 3 in the month of January. And you really thought to yourself, like, all right, Shamet needs to show us something here, man, because if he's not going to provide you any offense whatsoever, it's going to be hard to justify still playing him. And I know he plays hard on the defensive end, but, Payne has been great for us these couple of weeks. He had a bad game versus the Kings. Deuce when it went 0 for 5 in the game versus the Kings. No, 1 for 8, excuse me. In the game versus the Kings, Campaign went 0 for 5. So, he's been okay. A lot of Knicks fans are down on Deuce. But Landry Shamet, I thought needed to have one of those games, Chris. And we'll talk about the minutes being decreased from Mikal Bridges shortly in a second. But yeah, Landry Shamet he needed to have one of those games where he just come in and shoot lights out, because it's been a while, honestly.
Yeah, it's been too long. It's been way too long. I mean, look, we thought he was going to come in here and give us a spark off that bench, and it hasn't been exactly what we were looking for, right? That 3-point shot, like you mentioned, was just not falling. And he was out there. He was playing hard, but he wasn't playing smart, right? turnovers, fouls, trying to do the right thing, but just seemed like nothing could go his way. So it was nice to see Landry Shamet, kind of right the ship a little bit, and hopefully he can build on that because, like you mentioned, look, some of the guys off the bench, they're playing inconsistent.
Yeah.
Miles McBride, campaign. You don't know what you're going to get from a game in, game out perspective. We need some stability from that bench, especially if we're expecting Tom Thibodeau to play, 9 men. We're asking him, hey, play some of these bench guys. But look, the bench guys get those minutes and they don't produce. You know what Tom Thibodeau is going to do. And we don't want it, but hey, look, if they don't give him a reason, he's just going to go right back to the way it was before.
Yeah, he is. And appreciate you guys joining us for another Knicks Nation podcast. Those of you in the live stream, see you all. Smash the like button. Really appreciate you guys as well. Kind of reset the room a little bit. They've won 3 straight games. We're going to talk about some trade rumors in a bit, some fake trades that, Chris and I would like to see or that's been floating out there later on in the podcast episode. So stay tuned for that. We have I think 5 fake trade scenarios, 5 or 6 fake trade scenarios that should be interesting. But yeah, trading deadline is February 6th, man. And that's creeping up really soon. That is not this week, but that is in a week and a half. So the trading deadline is, creeping up, and the return of Mitchell Robinson is getting closer. So the deadline and the return of Mitchell Robinson are going to clash. And it's whether or not, the Knicks decide to move off of him or keep him or whatever. I'm sort of under the assumption that they're just going to hold off until he comes back and just see how it is. But yeah, so going back to the minutes. So one thing I've noticed, Chris, in the last 3 games, Mikal Bridges, he's only averaged 33.8 minutes per game in the last 3 games. So the Knicks have been watching his minutes, over these last 3 games. I don't know, it's an extremely small sample size. He had 35 minutes versus the Kings. He had 34 minutes versus Brooklyn. He had 27 minutes versus Atlanta. So in these last 3 games, he's not playing those heavy minutes, right? And even if you want to go further than that, the overtime game at Philly kind of skews things a little bit. But before that, 37 minutes, 37 minutes, 32 minutes, 36 minutes. So he's not playing his heavy minutes. He's still leading the league, but he's not playing his heavy minutes. So they're taking him out sooner. One thing I've noticed is Tom Thibodeau is taking him out sooner, going to Deuce McBride quicker, inserting Deuce McBride in with the starting lineup, and putting Mikal Bridges on the bench sooner and bringing Mikal Bridges in with some of the bench lineups with Cat in that second quarter. And it kind of gives, I love it because it kind of gives Tom Thibodeau more options in terms of different lineups to use Mikal. And also the lineups with Deuce McBride, I know he's, it's on the post game, yesterday, a lot of people were down about Deuce. He's having a bad year. I wanted more from Deuce McBride. I wanted 6 Man of the Year, Deuce McBride. And I get it. But it just seems like Thibs is searching for the lineups to get Mikal Bridges going more and to get him in the win with the bench.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it's just a way to find that right spot where Mikal Bridges is going to be more aggressive, look to score more,
Yeah.
And so far, I think it's working out, right? I mean, he's having some pretty good games. He had a really good game against the Kings as well.
Yeah.
So, I like so far what I'm seeing from Mikal Bridges. And as far as Deuce McBride, man, I mean, look, I'm not down on Deuce McBride, man. He's always out there. He's always playing hard. He's always going to give you that toughness on defense, no matter what's going wrong on offense for him. And yeah, he's had some rough stretches, but let's remember, he's still working his way back from an injury, that took him, excuse me, that took him out for a while. So, I'm not really concerned with Deuce McBride. The one thing I love about McBride is he goes out there, he gives you his all, and he's not scared to take a shot, whether he's missed his last 2 or 3 or whatever the case is. If he's open, he's going to let that ball fly. And he has a knack for hitting the clutch shots. So, I get it, but I think Deuce is still a huge part of this team, especially, obviously the bench unit. But he's a big part of this team, man.
He is, man. And Mike, what's going on? How are you? Appreciate you being in here. Appreciate all of you being in here. So I see some Mitchell Robinson trade speculation in the chat. Then Tendro says Bridges being the leader of the bench lineup looks great. And then he said he does well at creating his own shots and cutting. And Nostalgic says that's ridiculous. Deuce is getting paid pennies and as the sixth man before the injuries. Then Wrench says Deuce just been in a shooting slump since the hammy injury. He'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, I understand it. All valid points. Once again, appreciate you guys chiming in the chat. But yeah, Chris, I go back to these lineups. I go back to, all of these lineups where the point differential, plus the 100, the differential with 100 possessions. Deuce McBride is in all these lineups. Like there's a lineup with him, Jalen Brunson, Hart, and Anunoby Towns. You have a plus 40.8. There's a lineup with Payne, McBride, Bridges, and Anunoby Towns. That's plus 36.2. So the points per 100 possessions, I mean, he especially the defense, when McBride is on the court, things happen. I know he's not really showing in the box score some games, but when Deuce McBride is on the court, the Knicks play well. And the analytics show it. And I know Tom Thibodeau is looking at these numbers, and I'm assuming this is why he's getting Mikal Bridges out of there sooner. So to get Deuce McBride in the game and to get Mikal Bridges in, beginning part of the second quarter and so on and so forth. So, look, I get it, man. Deuce. But at the same time, you look at the standings. The Knicks are 30-16. They're third in the East, 2 games behind Boston. So you can factor all of that in. And McBride is still shooting, 38% from 3 this year. So, I mean, his 3-point percentage is still good. So it's not like he's shooting 32% from 3 and just playing terrible out there, So I'm trying to pull up the numbers really quick. Yeah, so shooting accuracy, sorry. So, 39% from 3 this year and 42% from above the break from Deuce McBride. Solid stuff.
Yeah, look, I'm not worried about Deuce McBride at all. And like you said, the numbers prove it. The analytics prove it. When he's out there, whether his shot's not falling, he's doing all the little things that's helping this team. Whether it's an extra rotation, whether it's getting a loose ball, getting a deflection, he's out there and he's producing, man. It's just not the way I think most fans want to see, which is Deuce McBride, hitting 3 after 3 after 3, basically.
Yeah.
But I get it.
I get it too. Unc Dre, what's going on? I'm loving this team. I don't believe these teams really want to see us healthy in the playoffs. Nostalgia says Mitch doesn't care if he gets traded. I saw that on the timeline too, Chris.
Saw that as well.
Mitchell Robinson doesn't care. First of all, that fan that DM'd Mitchell Robinson, what are you doing? Mitch is always one of those players who's going to give you a reaction towards anything, and he's going to speak his mind. And look, these guys are human, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to DM Mitchell Robinson or respond to a picture, saying, "Oh, I can't wait for you to get traded," I don't even know what he said, or "You're getting traded soon, so pack your bags" or something. I mean, I get it, but come on, it's unnecessary. I mean, these guys are human. And that's one thing you're saying out of Mitchell Robinson is on the verge of coming back, and he looks great, by the way. So, but we still have some trade stuff that we'll go through at the end. But yeah, Chris, I mean, that message just whatever.
Yeah. Not only that, I mean, his response, I don't think it's any ill will towards the Knicks or anything like that. I just think it's just, like you said, a reaction. And Mitch will usually give you that. And his reaction is, hey, yo, you know what? If you're going to trade me, so be it. But, I don't think it's anything, personal against the Knicks per se in that response.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either. All right, Knicks stretch coming up is tough, man. I mean, great game versus the Kings, 3 3-game winning streak, right? I mean, that's awesome. 3-game winning streak. You needed to get kind of back on track and needed to get back into rhythm. But these next 6 games, you're still at home. I mean, you still have a favorable schedule here coming up. Not favorable, excuse me, but I mean at home. You're at home, so you got to take care of business in Madison Square Garden. But in terms of the opponents, I mean, you got Memphis on the docket, and that team is a tough team, and they're big. You got, they got their rookie Zach Edey, you got Ja Morant, so they're a tough test, and it's going to be more of a team effort in that game. But this stretch coming up, Chris, is going to be telling for this team, and I know they're ready for it. They're built for it, and I can't wait for it. But it starts with Memphis, and it's just more of what we've been seeing in these 3 games, Chris. Shoot well, defend the 3 well. I know for Sacramento, what's his name, just went off again against us like he always does. But, you got Memphis, Denver, Lakers, Houston coming up, and Toronto, Boston, Indiana. So it's not getting easier, but I love it. Bring it on.
Look, we want to be tested, obviously, and what better way to get better than playing, the best teams out there, teams with winning records. That's where you want to. That's what you want to see. I mean, look, the Kings, obviously, and being 2 games back of Boston, I think is amazing. So the Knicks have a good opportunity to maybe get into that second spot, right? But like you mentioned, it's not going to be easy at all. Memphis has been rolling, obviously, with Ja Morant being back, and how dynamic that dude is. So, that game is going to be a bear. And then following it up, Denver, then LA and Houston. Man, that's tough. That's tough, but that's what you want to. That's the types of teams you want to play, man. That's the types of teams I want to see the Knicks go out and get wins against.
Show us what you got, man. I mean, Memphis, Denver, Lakers. I mean, Lakers they're the Lakers. But Houston, look, I'm ready for it. And look, obviously, if we can get I predicted, Chris, Mitchell Robinson's return will be versus Boston. So February 8th. Because in between those games, you play Tuesday, and then you got all the way to Saturday for some rest. So that's my prediction, that Mitchell Robinson will get out there versus Boston. But if he's out there sooner, great. I mean, they're saying the beginning of February, so that's the beginning of February. I mean, I honestly don't want to see his timeline keep getting pushed back. I mean, if they're saying beginning of February now, okay. I mean, that's in 2 weeks, so let's see it, right? So that's going to be exciting. And then you got the trade deadline in between those games.
Crazy.
Yes.
Curious what the Knicks will do at the trade deadline. I personally think we're holding on to Mitch, but could the Knicks make a smaller deal? I think there's probably a few out there that you could make.
I think so too, and we'll get to those trades in a bit. Let's hit some of these comments before we do so. Appreciate you guys in the chat as always. Nelly Nell says, what's the chance Mitch isn't ready by the deadline and possibly gets traded? There's always a chance for everything, Chris, right? There's always a chance.
Yeah, I mean, look, this front office is always working and trying to find the best possible deals for this team. And look, man, I spent some time on the trade machines, and it's pretty rough, man. It's rough to get a successful trade with.
It was tough, man.
With all the money and all the limitations now, with all the new rules, it's tough. It's tough. So I'm happy I'm not, in the Knicks front office. I'll tell you that much.
One thing about this Knicks front office, guys, is if they see a trade that's going to better this team and better the future, they will strike. They're not afraid. They held off on the Donovan Mitchell trade. A lot of people wanted them to do that trade, including myself, right? But they didn't do that trade, and they held off. They got OG Anunoby, and it's kind of it. I mean, I would take this route 10 times out of 10, honestly. And, they made savvy moves. Josh Hart, savvy move, right? And who would have thought Josh Hart having a career season? And that trade has turned out to be, one of Leon's best trades. Like, I think that trade alone is like Cam Reddish, and I think you give him a protected, first round pick that turned into, I forgot the player's name, but I'm doing that trade over and over and over again. And of course, you extend Josh Hart. And even when people saw the extension from Josh Hart, Chris, they were, that's a lot of money for Josh Hart. But dude could be an all-star. He could be a reserve.
Yeah, he got a lot of votes. Look, there's no surprise that Josh Hart got that many votes considering what he's done on this team. I mean, triple double after triple double, and it's just pure, not even the, it's not shooting a high amount of threes or anything. It's just pure hustle, grabbing boards, passing the rock, and playing gritty.
Yeah,
and you gotta love that. And like you mentioned, this dude can be an all-star reserve, man. That would be amazing. I would love to see that. I would love to see Josh Hart get one of those spots.
Funny, the guys were joking with Josh Hart. Josh Hart is a Commander fan. They lost to the Eagles, and Josh Hart was at the game. It's funny, he's actually questionable for the the Grizzlies game, but he left early apparently, and Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns were cracking jokes on X saying pick up your phone and this and that, but it's just the guys being funny. Mike says, is it weird that I love the schedule for the rest of the season? I don't care about beating the Wizards. I want to see who we are against a run of tough teams. Can't lose to all of them. This stretch is going to be key. Memphis, Denver. Look, Denver's going to want some revenge. You went into Denver and smacked them early on in the season. That win happened. Right? So I agree, right, Chris? I agree. We've already took advantage of our light schedule, 9 straight, but now it's February's coming up. It's time to rack up these great wins. And I thought the win versus the Kings was a great step in the right direction for the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree as well. This is where you want to it's measuring stick games, right? You want to go out there, play against the better teams and see where you're at. And if you're lacking in any areas, address it, get better and address it. And continue, man, because look, it's not going to get any easier, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited for these upcoming games, no matter how difficult they are, because it's going to show us where we're at.
It is. Jalen Brunson recorded his 5,000th career point in his 190th career game as a Knick. He is now the fastest player in Knick history to accomplish this feat, passing Bernard King and Carmelo Anthony 191 games for the fewest amount of games needed to reach 5,000 points. The signing of Jalen Brunson just continues to get better and better, Chris. I mean, stud.
Absolutely.
Stud.
And that's great company to be in. And I think he beat them by one day, I believe. So even more wild.
That's amazing. And shout out to the boys for All-Star game. Incredible accomplishment, excuse me. And we talked about the Mikal Bridges playing less minutes. And all right, Chris, you want to talk about these fake trades, which most people are joining us for? These fake trades. So we've come up with some fake trades that, may or may not happen, probably won't happen. And again, these are fake trades. These are trades that we, did some research on and wanted to bring to you guys and get your opinion. So I want to preface this by saying these are fake trades. Okay? Because I know how
we're still going to get killed, man.
We are. All right. I'm kind of nervous here. Trade number one. Trade number one we came up with. This is called the Knicks fake trade machine. The New York Knicks received Josh Green. The Hornets received Mitchell Robinson and a second-round pick. Josh Green is a tough, gritty defender. He can also score in some spurts. He's a little bit undersized, though. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", so he's more of a shooting guard. But Josh Green can defend his ass off, and he's a big body off that bench. And this is trade number one, Chris. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think?
No way.
Why not?
Not a chance, man. I'm not giving up Mitchell Robinson for another undersized player, you know? I don't want to have another undersized player. I still believe in Mitchell Robinson, and you're giving up a second round pick. Nah, that doesn't fly. That doesn't fly for me.
This is if you believe in Mitch. This is if you believe in Mitch, right? So, look, Josh Green is 6'5", 200 pounds, and look, he can defend his ass off, right? And it's if you believe in Mitch or not. And this has been floated out there, so I decided to make it work. The money does work, and you would have to give up, I think, an incentive to the Hornets. And because, you don't really know the value of Mitchell Robinson around the league. They can just be like, we don't know what Mitch is. He's not playing. Josh Green is playing. So, no, you don't like it?
No, I don't like it. No way.
Yeah, look, Green has spent his career in Dallas. He's actually a 40% three-point shooter, by the way, this year. So, I know you would have Deuce, Josh Green, campaign. It'll be kind of hard to mix and match that. But you are selling low, in my opinion, on Mitchell Robinson. So
Very low.
But
then again, I still feel like Mitchell Robinson has a lot to give. Obviously, if healthy. But I see the chat does not like this trade at all either.
Mike says, thanks, Chris. Too small. We need another wing. If anything, nobody likes this trade. John says, ew, no. El Figure says, I trade Josh Green and a draft pick for Jericho Sims. The money doesn't work.
I'd probably do that.
The money doesn't work in that regard. So that's the reason why I had to get, Mitchell Robinson in there, because Josh Green's contract, I'll put it up really quick. Signed a 3-year, $41 million contract. He gets paid $12 million this year, $13 million next year. He signed for the next 2 years, essentially, and on a team-friendly deal. So people are saying no. All right, this is the first one. So right off the gate, that's a no from most of you. Right off the gate. Again, this is the fake trade machine, the Knicks Nation fake trade machine that we got going on here. Trading deadline is coming up in a week and a half. So, Mitch Robinson's name has been involved in the trades. All right, let's get to trade number 2. Trade number 2, numero dos. I'll let you read this one, Chris. I'll stand back.
The Knicks receive Jonas Valanciunas. And the Wizards receive Mitchell Robinson in a second-round pick. I don't know how I feel about this one, man. I mean, you're swapping a big for a big. I just feel like, look, man, the Knicks just need rim protection. They need defense. You're not going to get that from Jonas Valanciunas, in my opinion. You're going to get a big body, basically, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not feeling this either.
Keith says, what's trade number 3? He's already on trade number 3. Look, this is obviously, you don't know this. This is protecting yourself, right? Valanciunas is a solid player. Valanciunas can actually score a little bit around the rim. He's been rumored to be, a Knick. And the Knicks have been rumored to trade for Jonas Valanciunas. And this is kind of protecting yourself, because we don't know the health of Mitchell Robinson. He can come back and, God forbid he can get hurt again. Then you're kind of screwed, right? So, I mean, that can happen with Jonas Valanciunas. He's a little bit older. I think he's like 31, 32. So he's a veteran in this league. So this is kind of protecting yourself, because you don't know the unknown with Mitch. So you don't know the unknown with Mitch. So that's the only thing with this one.
I get it, but I still think, the upside with Mitch and taking that gamble is just, it's worth it to me. It's worth it, when you look at what's actually out there, what's available. Obviously, we don't know who else might become available. during the trade deadline or if somebody gets bought out, whatever the case may be. But look, as of right now, I'd still rather Mitchell Robinson than Jonas Valanciunas. I just think Mitch offers more that I feel like fits more better with this Knicks squad. I think the fit with Jonas Valanciunas on the Knicks, could it work? I guess, but I think it'll be it'll be pretty clunky fit.
Look, Valanciunas, you can say he's more polished around the rim, but Mitch is a better rebounder than Valanciunas, and Valanciunas is actually okay free throw shooter, and he does attempt threes too. Which is, he can stretch the floor a little. I'm not gonna say he can stretch the floor, but I mean, I'm looking at his last game. He shot 2 of 2 from 3 behind the arc. So, look, again, this is kind of protecting yourself in case I know this is a swap like Mitchell Robinson, Valanciunas. Of course, you would take the upside of Mitchell Robinson, but we've seen the downside of Mitchell Robinson too, and I think that the Knicks have to look at that. And I think they will. And the reason why I'm adding a second-round pick is because you got to spice it up a little bit. Valanciunas is healthy. Mitchell Robinson isn't. So, we don't know the value of Mitch around the league. And, yeah. Because El Figgy says, please stop adding in draft picks. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, we gave up a lot of those. Yeah. I get it.
Nelly Nell says his three-pointer is underrated. Hey. There you go, Chris. Stretch the floor in the corner. Valanciunas.
I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't think we'd be bringing him in here to be shooting threes, but I guess that's a bonus.
It'll be like the iHeart experiment, right? We thought he was going to stretch the floor, and he didn't. Obviously he was amazing in every single other area, but hey, trade number 2. Seems like people are like mixed in the comments. So you have John Doe says good trade. Trade has wheels. Watch his defensive highlights though. Then you got Anunoby. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry if I'm not. I wouldn't do this. Monkey Wrench says he gave us 20 plus when we played him. Yuri, what's going on, Yuri? Appreciate you in here. Just chopping it up, kind of reset the room a little. We're going through trades. This is trade number 2. Trade number 1 was an emphatic no from the squad, from the chat, and from Chris. Josh Green was a no from Mitchell Robinson for Mitch. So trade number 2. I feel like people, the fake trade machine. I love it. Anything else you want to say before we get to trade number 3, Chris?
Nah, let's get to trade number 3.
All right. Simon says might do it. Mitch is not helping right now. Yuri says, I already said that. All right. Trade number 3. Here we go. It's a big one. Knicks and Warriors make a trade. Warriors are free falling. They're not playing well right now. This may shake a lot of feathers, Chris. This is the fake trade machine, ladies and gentlemen. Knicks receive Kyle Anderson, Guy Santos, and the Warriors receive Deuce McBride, Precious Achiuwa, and 2 second-round picks. Now, let me try to explain this one. Kyle Anderson is hurt right now. He's having a down year, but he is on the verge of returning. I think he's back next game. Kyle Anderson was great for the Warriors. He can also handle the ball a little bit. He is, 6'9", 6'10", and we've already we've seen what he did with Minnesota last year as playoff experience. This kind of gives the Warriors another 3-point threat with Deuce McBride. And you kind of flip-flop Precious with Kyle Anderson, Kyle Anderson can put the ball in the basket. And Guy Santos is also a sneaky young player. But Chris, seeing this one, Deuce McBride, I think a lot of people are not going to like this one. But I tried to get, what I tried to get? What do you say about this trade, Chris, before I go on?
I get it with Kyle Anderson because I was actually trying to get a trade in there with Kyle Anderson because that's a versatile player right there. He could do a lot of good things, and he's another wing type player that, allows some of our guys to get some rest. But man, it would hurt to get for Deuce McBride to be included in that. I feel like that just causes more problems for us than it does, solve them. Even if Kyle Anderson can, quote unquote, play a little bit of the point. I'm saying no to it.
Fake trade machines coming at you guys tonight. I love it. A lot of people don't like this one. Look, Kyle Anderson's having a bad year, guys. And you're kind of buying low on Kyle Anderson and you're replacing him. Somebody said he could put the ball in the basket. Look, he was good for the Timberwolves last year in the playoffs. He was a very valuable piece for them. He was. And he was kind of a sneaky addition that the Timberwolves, sneaky subtraction that the Timberwolves lost this past summer. Now losing Deuce and losing Precious, that obviously it hurts. But I tried to get Kuminga. I really try to get Jonathan Kuminga. I know the Warriors are definitely not going to trade Kuminga. But that situation is one that, they haven't paid him. He wants a lot of money. And I try to get Jonathan Kuminga for Deuce and, Precious, but the money just doesn't work. And you would probably have to get a third team involved. That's the guy I really wanted. And I think a lot of people would have signed up for that, Jonathan Kuminga. Because Jonathan Kuminga on this Knicks bench, that's gold. So I try to get Kuminga before you guys come after this trade. I know it's probably a bad trade, but I just saw the upside of Kyle Anderson, and I just know that he was valuable for the Timberwolves last year and very underrated in their Western Conference Finals run. So,
yeah,
that's.
I think considering he's having a down year, you're not trading for what he did in the past, right? It's what it is now. Similar to Mitch, right? I think maybe you can get a Kyle Anderson and not have to include a Deuce McBride. Maybe you make things work some other way. Maybe you don't have to give up 2 second-round picks even, but. That's just wishful thinking on my part.
Let's leave this trade on red, then report it as scam likely. John says, okay, I see the third trade was done under the influence, sipping back on grandpa's cough medicine. Simon says, next. Jonathan says, Warriors fleecing that deal. I see the vision, though, for a wing. Do not trade Precious, John says. Yuri says, next. Then Stanley brings up a good point. Looney and Anderson for Mitch and Sims. Stanley says no way the Knicks give up McBride. Looney was also a name that we were looking at, Chris, right?
Yeah. I think Looney's best days are obviously behind him. I was going to include him in the trade too, but I just felt he's too old. He's too old at this point, in my opinion.
He's 28. He's not old.
He's old, man. He moved like he's 36.
Yeah, no, I get it. Looney at that point, like I'd rather have Precious than Looney. Like I just feel like it's a wash. But the Kyle Anderson, I get it. All right, trade number 4. So this one was a rounding no. Trade number 4, the fake trade machine. Ladies and gentlemen, we've gone through 4 trades so far. Well, I think a lot of people will sign up for this one, Chris. So this is between the New York Knicks and the New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans get Jericho Sims and a second-round pick. The New York Knicks receive Javonte Green. Javonte Green's name has been linked to the Knicks in the last week. Great, rugged defender and kind of like one of those guys like you need off the bench to kind of get down and dirty. And the Pelicans, look, they're probably going to haggle for more, but I don't see the reason why they do that. But you give them Jericho, you give them a second, you get Javonte. I think Javonte's on the last deal of his last year of his contract. Yeah. So what do you say to this one?
I like this one. This is actually what I think more than likely something would happen for the Knicks. If we hold on to Mitch, the Knicks make a smaller move like this, and I still think this is a great move for the Knicks. Javonte Green, like you mentioned, a gritty defensive player, a wing, helps us out off the bench, lets guys rest a little bit more, and yeah, we're losing out on a second-round pick and Jericho Sims, but I think that's well worth it, in my opinion. More pluses than negatives.
Yeah. Look, Javante, he's 31. He's been linked to the Celtics. He's giving you 6 points this year, 3.5 rebounds, but he's known for his defense, right? And he can also shoot the three, guys. So what is he shooting this year? I'm just trying to pull it up. He started his career in Boston, Chicago, and then obviously he's shooting 38% from three this year. So
I'll take it.
He averaged 12 points per game last year. We only played 5 games, so that scratched that. But injuries have kind of derailed him a little bit. But he's played 41 games this year, and I think that this is a trade. If the Knicks were to come knocking on the Pelicans' door, I think the Pelicans would probably want another pick, maybe another second, because if not, who knows? But I mean, like I said, Javante, I think will be a great addition to this team. Like him off the bench.
Yeah, I like it. I like this one. I like this trade.
Yeah. HRM says, does the money work? Yes. El Figgy says, yes. This actually I see happening. Stanley Man says, Javante Green is a great pickup. He reminds me of Josh Hart. Yeah, imagine a Josh Hart coming in off the bench and starting. That's demoralizing. Keith Watkins says, yes. A lot of people love this one. HRM says, in a heartbeat. John says, this is not a bad trade. Only problem is who's your third center in case Cat or Mitch are in foul trouble. Hook
Porty.
Even though he probably won't play. This Rover says, Sims is a great kid. God bless him, but man, does he not play basketball. Yeah.
Sims has held it down, man. You got to give some props to Sims, man. You know, he's getting thrown in there, starting games, you know, when needed. I think he's done a decent job, but look, man, it doesn't look pretty out there.
IQ is
done, man.
Thing about Sims is he's talented, but the basketball IQ just isn't there with him. You know.
Yeah. Plus, you're getting thrown out there with NBA starters. You know, that's tough. He holds his own though. He holds his own.
Somebody said Sims, Deuce, and picks for Trey Murphy.
I was trying to get Trey Murphy in a trade too, but he has a poison pill contract that accounts for, I think, $23 million, which is just impossible to work a trade around for some reason. So yeah, I don't see Trey Murphy happening at all. Would be nice.
All right, so this is trade number 4. Seems like a lot of people are on board with this one. This is more of a realistic trade, you know, that could go down in a week and a half, so we shall see. On to trade number 5, Chris. This is something you came up with, so I'll let you go.
Knicks receive Walker Kessler and Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz for Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson, and insert a couple of picks in there because obviously this in itself won't get it done simply because we're dealing with the Jazz here.
Danny Ainge.
But the money works. I think honestly the Jazz would also want something like a Deuce McBride in this trade, which I don't think the money ends up working anyway. But you know, what do you think about this one?
Clarkson is getting paid $14 million this year, $14 million next year. So then he comes off the books. Danny Ainge. I think Danny Ainge looks at this, and the prize in this deal, obviously, is Walker Kessler, in my opinion. If the Knicks, that's the prize, in my opinion. And look, Mitchell Robinson is on the verge of coming back, so we don't, know what he's going to look like. But Walker Kessler is the prize, and obviously Clarkson. I mean, I remember the game that they were in MSG. Mike Breen just ragged on this guy. I mean, he's like, what is Clarkson doing? So he's not like, he could score, but he can always like as well as do many other things poorly. I'll just say that, but I don't think Ainge does this. Like, I think Ainge looks at this and is like, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm not. Mitchell Robinson's always hurt. Precious Achiuwa, good player, but I can get more for Walker Kessler. They think they can get 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler. So That's the asking price for Walker Kessler. So I don't know if they see Mitchell Robinson in like as a healthy version of Kessler, but it's all about health with Mitch. So I think Danny Ainge scoffs at this at the end of the day. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. The Jazz in general is its own hurdle. And I actually wanted to try to get Colin Sexton in there, rather than Jordan Clarkson. But for whatever reason, the money just would not work out for me. But yeah, I agree. I don't see the Jazz doing this, even adding a first round pick or something like that to this. It was rumored before the Knicks actually offered 2 firsts for Walker Kessler, and the Jazz said no.
Mm-hmm.
So I think his price is higher than that. There's rumors the Lakers are actually going after Walker Kessler as well, and no type of framework of a deal that they've made to the Jazz has been, even remotely accepted or the Jazz are just hard to do business with, man, unless you're getting screwed over in a deal. That's basically where I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah, like if I would do this straight up, like it works, the money works, I would do this. I would. But I know Danny Ainge is going to hang up the phone.
Yep.
But he overvalues his players as well. He may wait another year for Clarkson next year to try to flip him, so then he's an expiring. But Kessler has been the name that, has been on, many teams' radars. But, the Knicks can just look at this and just say, hey, we got Mitch coming back, so we'll just wait and see what Mitch does. But, yeah, Danny Ainge is, like people were saying in the chat, he's a highway robber. He's a highway robber. Ed Thomas says, no, stay away from the Jazz. This is interesting. Danny Ainge would never do this. The MSG TV announcer next to Clyde last night sounded like Breen, but with the head cold. Stanley Man says, how about John Collins and a wing for Achua and Kolek? Look, one thing that Chris and I came across all these trades, now that was a 5th trade. One thing that Chris and I came, like we've realized is it's going to be hard for the Knicks to do anything. That's if you include a Mitch, but it's like at that point, he's on the verge of coming back. Why not wait to see if he's back, when he's back, how he looks with Cat? Or maybe they could just be hyping it up, right? We don't know. And
It's true.
I saw a lot of Kolek rumors, but that's like you're kind of giving up on Kolek before he actually gets an opportunity. Or, I don't know, Chris. I kind of was thinking about like why, I don't know, because Deuce and obviously Campaign have been playing so well. Deuce, obviously, a lot of people are down on him, but Kolek is one of those players who obviously when he's on the court, he seems like to make things happen. Right, he's a floor general. Defense is obviously an issue, but he's a old rookie in this league. But I've seen a lot of rumors involving Tyler Kolek, and it's like I don't know how I feel about that. Even Daddier, right? But at the same time, I think to myself, and I'm like, look, if you want to improve this bench, it's either you let them shine, or you got to give to get, right? If this Knicks team wants to improve this bench, who are the assets that are going to go out, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be either Deuce, it's going to be Mitch, right? So that's why we've come up with these trades and involving most of them.
Yeah, it's I've always been the type that I don't want to give up on my young guys until I've had a chance to see what they can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to do that, How many years have the Knicks gone in the past where we couldn't get young talent, simply because we were just trading away all our picks and whatnot. So when it comes to, Kolek and it comes to Daddier, especially considering the picks that we used on them, I kind of be hard pressed to, just trade them away. But I get it as well. Like you mentioned, if we want to get better, we gotta offer something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I personally would rather hang on to my young guys, because I think that's what championship type of teams do. You know, you got your roster, you got your starters, you got your veterans, and then you supplement with younger guys as they build up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously we want to see these guys play more so that they can reach that level. Still early, but you know, I think you hold on to your young guys. But yeah, look, it's been, you know, I spent a good hour or two on this trade machine trying to come up with different types of trades with what we got, and it is tough. It is tough with the new rules out there, and you know where the Knicks are at as far as the aprons.
Yeah, first apron. So appreciate every single one of you guys in here. So Chris and I are going through some trade scenarios. We came up with 5 trades. We'll go through them a little bit quickly a little bit later, but smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. As always, we open up this podcast talking about the Knicks being on a 3-game winning streak, got a tough stretch ahead, but trading deadline is in a week and a half, and Mitchell Robinson's name has been in rumors. You know, the Knicks have been linked to, you know, Valanciunas. His name has been linked to the New York Knicks, and we went through a trade scenario. Also, I see Stanley says Cam Whitmore's name is an intriguing one that the Rockets, you know, seems like they already have their rotation set, and it just seems like they don't have a place for Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore is a good young player in this league. He can score. He's a wing.
I like Cam Whitmore a lot, actually. If the Knicks could somehow, you know, do a deal for Cam Whitmore, that would be amazing.
I was listening to Ian Begley, and he said that, you know, he said it was more likely than that Jericho Sims would probably be moved. So that got me thinking, right? That got me thinking, like, what do you swap for Sims? Do you swap Sims for a wing? Like, do you swap Sims for the trade that we were bantering back and forth with? What was that? Oh, that was a trivia. Sorry. This one, Javonte Green. So Sims is getting paid, you know, so little that it's kind of like I'll trade you Sims, I'll throw in a pick or two, and you give us a extra depth, the wing off the bench, and let's just call it a day. And if the Knicks can pull that off, I think you do it.
Yeah.
Like, I think you really do it. Like this deal right here, Chris, I think you do it 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've seen what Jericho can do, obviously. You know, we've heard earlier in the season that teams are starting to have interest in Jericho Sims. It seems like his value is probably as high as it's going to get, right?
Yeah.
You know, why not strike while the iron is hot and see if you can get yourself a bench, you know, a depth piece. Like, it makes all the sense in the world, you know, rather than, you know, giving up a Mitchell Robinson or having to include a Deuce McBride in the trade, or, you know, getting another key bench piece out of your, you know, lineup. Jericho Sims, someone who is the break glass guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you'd say. I do that any time of the day, man. Like, it just makes the most sense.
Yeah, the thing is, what's the incentive for the Pelicans, right? And look, Green is going to be a free agent, so you might as well get some for him, right? New Orleans. I mean, you're not really doing anything. You got to decide what your future is with Zion Williamson. What are you going to do with that team? So I would say if I'm New Orleans, I would try to get, you know, as many second-round picks as possible for the assets I have. And because it'll hurt. Boston has also been rumored to be interested in Javonte Green. So teams see value in him. And this name just popped up recently. And I would love this guy off the bench, honestly. And he would replace Shamet. So there you go.
Yeah. I think it works, man. And the incentive is obviously the picks, right? Because the Pelicans are kind of in a weird spot where their future is just unclear. You know, they were thinking they were going to be competing, and, you know, the whole Zion spectacle and whatnot. It's just nuts over there.
Yeah, it is. It is. So look, trading deadline is in a week and a half, guys. Week and a half. So it's going to be interesting. I think that, you know, hey, Knicks have made some deals. They're not afraid to pull the trigger, so it's going to be interesting. But in the meantime, we still got a tough stretch ahead. And like I said, 3 straight wins for this Knicks team. that Kings game was one of their best performances that we've seen in a while. And that got me thinking, I'll go back to the beginning of the pod, that got me thinking that this Knicks team, when hitting on all cylinders like versus Sacramento, they can be dangerous. They can be dangerous. But, it's games like that, Chris, where I'm like, all you need is like a couple pieces off that bench, man.
Yep.
Just one or two more pieces off that bench, and with Mitch, and you're golden. You're golden.
Yeah. Look, that's what I'm hoping for. And I think a trade with Sims can get you something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, look, I know it's risky. I know it's a crapshoot with Mitch. But look, all the news we've been hearing about Mitch is he's in great shape. Getting to the point where he's going to be back on that court. And look, if Mitch got into amazing shape, and maybe that's the difference between him getting, injured and staying healthy, who knows? But why not roll the dice with that,
Yeah.
and just see how it plays out? Because I don't think you're going to get anything close to what Mitch could be. And again, I know it's a big could, but I don't think you're finding anything close to what Mitch can provide you, out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. That's the thing. That's the tricky part, right? I think the Knicks can look at that and be like, that's our trade acquisition, the return of Mitchell Robinson. And it can be all good and gravy. But we brought up the Valanciunas aspect. Do they protect themselves from an injury? I mean, we've been dealing with this for how many years now with Mitch, and it's frustrating. So they could be looking at it like that too. So here's a stretch: Memphis, Denver, Lakers, Houston, Toronto, Boston. So before that Boston game, the trading deadline is February 6th. So that is when the Knicks have 4 days off. But between that Boston game, they got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 days off, So we've seen what this Knicks team looks like when they're well rested. And I feel like that's going to be a great test. But this game is going to be a good one. And the Memphis game is going to be a great one as well. So tough test ahead. But like we said earlier, Chris, show us what you're working with. Show us what you got. I love it, though. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the types of games, again, like I said before, these are the types of games you want to see the Knicks play. You want to see what we're made of, where we're at, what we can do to get better. The Knicks are rolling, and hopefully they just continue on that trend, but it's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
All right, let's hit some of these comments before we get to trivia. We're missing some of these comments. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Stanley says, wait for March and bring up Okiki or Warren for the bench. Well, Okiki has been playing well. He had a good game last week for this next G League team. So that's also been, a conversation, Chris. Okiki, TJ Warren, you can sign them, bring them up. But I don't know if the Knicks go down that route, but it's always an option, right? It's always an option.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't mind that at all. Maybe those guys still have something left. Kiki is a young guy.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not give it a shot?
D. Grant says if Knicks do a trade, Deuce is going to be involved for sure, D. Grant says. Nelly Nell, how about the Mitch for Isaiah Stewart trade rumors? That's an interesting one. Isaiah Stewart. That's an interesting one. But at that point, it's like, I don't know. I like Stewart because, yeah.
I know he's like a hustle guy, high energy guy, and that's great. But again, I still feel that's like another position where we're going to be undersized. I don't want it. I don't want being undersized at any position anymore. We're already pretty small as it is.
Yeah. All right. Let's go through the trades really quick. So this is trade number 4, Javonte Green for Jericho Sims and a second-round pick. Seems like most people were on board with this. Next trade, Chris brought up Walker Kessler, Jordan Clarkson coming to New York, Jazz receiving Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson, but we came to the conclusion that Danny Ainge will probably say, what?
Click.
Yeah, click. Y'all crazy. This is another one. Knicks received Kyle Anderson, Guy Santos. Warriors received Deuce McBride, Precious Achiuwa, and 2 second-round picks. Chris and I talked about kind of, ways we can try to get, I know Kyle Anderson, when people see the name, They're like, what? Precious and Deuce for Kyle Anderson and 2 second-round picks? No, thank you. But, Warriors are free-falling, so it's going to be – that's a team where I would pick up the phone and try to see if anyone else is available, Chris, because that team is not playing well. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. I still find it hard to let go of Deuce McBride, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like I said, I try to get Jonathan Kuminga. Obviously, if we can get Kuminga in a Knick uniform, I would want that. Even Tracy Jackson Davis on the Warriors. So
try that too.
Yeah, either way, I would pick up the phone and try to see what the Warriors are thinking regarding Kuminga. I know there's been a report where Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors are, they're in a good spot. They're not thinking about trading him. But Kuminga on this Knicks bench would be absolutely huge. So Kyle Anderson, that's a no. Coley says hell no in the chat. So people don't like this one. This is the second one. Valanciunas for Mitchell Robinson and a second-round pick. Chris and I talked about this, about kind of preventing yourself, kind of, guarding yourself from another Mitchell Robinson injury. Valanciunas can score, can't put the ball in the basket some. Mitch is obviously a better defender, better offensive rebounder, better rim protector. But Valanciunas, sneaky good, 3-point shooter, even though he doesn't attempt some. And he can put the score in the basket. It's been rumored that, the Knicks aren't interested in him. This one was – people were wavering about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see the again, going back to Mitchell Robinson's injury history, I understand it. But for me, at least, I'm rolling the dice on Mitchell Robinson. Let's just see what we get.
Yeah. Philbert Phillips says trading Mitchell Robinson will be a bona fide mistake. After losing Porzingis, Big Mitch helped the Knicks look promising. Then he made them relevant. He's progressed into a defensive juggernaut and lob. Yeah, Phillip, look, we all want Mitchell Robinson on the court. We want him back and healthy, and it seems like that time is coming soon. But, if there's another injury to Mitchell Robinson, Chris, I think that's it. I think people are going to be done, And at that point, the trade value is what? It's honestly like it's damaged goods. So either way, it's in the Knicks' best interest to keep him, because the upside of Mitch is tremendous. But the downside, there is downside, right? And obviously these are conversations that the Knicks front office probably has. And
yeah, I just hope, look, I have high hopes for Mitch, and I just hope he comes back healthy. Maybe that's too much of a wishful thinking type of thing. Obviously, we know his track history, but I'm holding out hope for Mitch, man. I think he's going to be the key to this playoff run.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to see that. And this was the other trade that we came up with. Mitchell Robinson, second-round pick for Josh Green, kind of like a Thibs guy. Josh Green, more undersized a little bit, signed for the next couple of years. Again, you see the trend here. Mitchell Robinson, second-round pick. But, at this point, it's like if something was to happen, who backs up Cat? But, hey, the Knicks have been playing – they played 46 games without Mitchell Robinson, right? And Josh Green replacing Shamet, that's an upgrade. So different trades to work with. So once again, this is the Knicks Nation fake trade machine, ladies and gentlemen. This is the fake trade machine.
Told you we were going to get killed.
Fake trade. There's a reason why I put it up there in the corner. It's the fake trade machine. So trading, this is always fun talking about these trades, but either or.
No, it is, and we have to hit the trade machine some more and come up with some more for next time.
Week. Definitely next week. We got more trades for you guys. So I love it at the end of the day. So El Figure says truth is we don't need to trade. We need Thibs to rotate players better and manage minutes. And he has been doing that at Kings game. 9-man rotation in the first quarter. Sign me up for that, Dibs. All right, Chris, you want to get the trivia?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do trivia every single podcast episode. It's Chris's turn to ask me a question. It's regarding the Knicks' 2 All-Stars. Smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the Discord link. Chris and I are in the Discord talking Knicks. During the post games, you guys can also come on and chop it up. Chris, have at it.
Here we go. This should be a layup for you, but how long has it been since the New York Knicks have had 2 All-Star starters in a season? Is it A, 45 years, B, 35 years, C, 20 years, or D, 50 years?
This has been circling around because the Knicks haven't had an all-star since Frazier and Earl Monroe. 2 all-stars. So 45 years, 35 years. Either way, this was before I was born, by the way. Kind of aging myself. 20 years brings you back to 2005, Chris. That's a no. That's a no. 35 years, I don't think it's even then. I think, look, it's either A or D. It's either A or D. And I see people in the chat trying to help out. D, Robert Rivera says D. I was leaning D, Chris. 50 years is a long time ago. And long time ago. I'm going to go with D, final answer.
Final answer?
50
D?
years, D.
You are correct, sir.
Boom, let's go.
50 years since the New York Knicks have had 2 All-Star starters. That's a long time. That is a very long time.
Yeah.
Good time to be a Knicks fan, though.
Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, because I think both of them have, 5 times this year they both scored 30 in a game, and I think Brunson and Randall did that 6 times in the years that they played together. So, Cat and JB have a chance to break that this year, and I do think they will. So, look, Cat has been incredible. Just hope that he's healthy and dealing with, that thumb injury is now kind of like a concern, because now he's, doing more stuff around the rim, and I think he's 1 of 10 from coming back from that thumb injury. But either way, just amazing accomplishment. And, it puts things in perspective, Chris. Like, I know after that 9-game winning streak, it wasn't like we had the OKC bad loss, and there were some bad losses, and we still have to show us that they can beat, good teams. And obviously we got Boston coming up, Cleveland coming up, and this stretch coming up, but they're still in a great spot, man. I mean, they're a game ahead of their pace last year, 30-16, with a chance to upgrade at the deadline. So,
yeah. Like I said before in the previous pod, look, we're in a great spot. There's things to clean up, obviously lots of things that we can be better at, but we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, and there's plenty of time left to make an impact on this season and get better. And who's to say, that we won't have a chance come playoffs, Mm-hmm. And you saw the past 3 games. Knicks are rolling right now. So as long as they keep building on this, we should be good. We should be good.
I see a lot of people in the chat saying the question was, how long has it been since the Knicks have had 2 All-Star starters in a season?
Yep.
So, it's been a while. So the key word in that question is starters. So obviously, JB and Randall, but they weren't starting.
Yeah.
So the answer was D, 50 years. Appreciate you guys in the chat, though.
Going back to Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe in 1975.
1975, man. Wow. What a time.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
We back, man. We back. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through the gutter, Knicks fans. Gone through the gutter.
That's why you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the ride, the ups and downs, the roller coaster, We've come from we've come from some pretty bad Knicks teams in the past. So to be where we're at now, you got to just take the good with the bad as well,
Yeah, definitely, man, because we're in like a weird spot. I know we're at the end of the podcast, but it's like now that we're so good, like people expect so much from this team. And before, when we were terrible, we just wanted to be good. And now that we're good, we want more,
That's how it is in New York, man.
Yeah,
you keep
it's
striving.
always what's next.
Keep striving for more.
It's always all right. We got past the first round now. Now we need to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. We need to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look, I want the Knicks to get to Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
At a minimum, back to the second round, right? So look, I'm right there too. I want to see this Knicks squad ultimately win a championship. So, it's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard not to get antsy and want it all in one shot, but we're building to it. We're getting there.
We are. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. This has been another great episode. Trade rumors and whatnot. We will be back next week talking about what happened this week. And also we got some more trade rumors. Obviously, catch me on the post games. We'll be on after the Memphis game. That is a big game. So we talked about a lot, Chris. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we got up on out of here?
No, man. Shout out to
won
Cat.
Again, man. Damn.
Shout out to Brunson. I didn't want to bring up the Chiefs, but
God, man.
I told you before this pod, I was like, yo, if the Bills give the Chiefs just a minute or two at the end of this game, it's over. And sure enough, the Chiefs pulled it off. History repeats itself, right?
Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl Part 2. Man, oh man, crazy. Patrick Mahomes just keeps on doing it, man. Just keeps on doing it. I don't like seeing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again. Man, we got to deal with that crap again. All right.
Patriots all over again.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Damn. Appreciate you guys joining. I'm Anthony from Knicks Nation.
I'm Chris.
Catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.